Welcome back, everybody, to this KC Sports Report live stream. We've got some big breaking news coming out of the NFL and coming from Adam Schefter. We have talked about the Chiefs potentially trading for a cornerback for the last couple days now. And according to Adam Schefter, the Chiefs have contacted the New Orleans Saints about acquiring cornerback Marshon Lattimore. Marshon Lattimore could potentially be a Kansas City Chief by Tuesday's NFL trade deadline, which is just massive news. I mean, I think that the Chiefs need to go get a cornerback, but I was not expecting them to be in on somebody as talented as Marshon Lattimore. I mean, there's not really, much to say about him. He's just a fantastic corner that I think immediately makes your cornerback room go from being, I don't want to say one of the most mediocre rooms in the league right now with without a second corner on this team. You got Trent McDuffie, who's locked down, but you don't know if Trent McDuffie can hold it down all by himself. So the Chiefs are apparently in on Marshon Lattimore. What they would have to trade to go get him, who knows? And really quickly, I want to give a shout out to everybody in the chat. I see Chiefs fan 1969, Lego My Ego. Good to see you guys in the chat. But I think that I want to read off this specific part of a potential trade. His contract runs through 2026, so he would potentially have some more years of team control. I don't know the likelihood that he would end up playing longer than this year because Marshon Lattimore would not require his new team to devote that much cap space just to trade for him this year. But 2025 and in the future, that's where it becomes interesting because I'm actually going to share my screen here really quickly. His cap space gets to be an issue as the years go on. So, like I said, it runs through 2026. And you can kind of see as we get down here in 2024, his base salary is $1.2 million with a signing bonus of $1.5 million. And he restructured $9 million of that contract. But if we get into 2025, his base salary is $16 million. That's where it gets tricky. I don't think the Chiefs would pay Marshon Lattimore $16 million as a base salary next year. And then in 2026, it's $16 million as well. I don't think that that is realistic for the Chiefs. I don't think that they would do that. But as a one-year rental, as just a one-year cornerback who could almost guarantee your three-peat, I think the Chiefs would strongly consider this possibility. And clearly they are because they've already contacted the New Orleans Saints about making this a possibility. Guys, I want to hear what you guys have to say in the comment section of this chat. What do you think the Chiefs are going to do? Can you see Marshon Lattimore in a Chiefs uniform by Tuesday? Because listen, you guys saw that video that I put out earlier today about, Diana Rossini's article that the Chiefs aren't done. The Chiefs are going to go out and trade for somebody else. Now, they were interested in a cornerback and they were interested in a wide receiver. Now, we might see them pull off a huge trade for Marshon Lattimore, who's been one of the better cornerbacks in the league over the past 4 or 5 seasons. Now, he's actually the pick that the New Orleans Saints selected to go get him in the same draft that the Chiefs got Patrick Mahomes. I believe he was actually the pick after Patrick Mahomes. So he hasn't lived up to what Patrick Mahomes has in Kansas City, obviously, but he has been a phenomenal cornerback, and there's a reason why he got paid. Now, if you look at what he got paid back a couple years ago in 2021, he signed a 5-year, $97 million contract with $34 million of that guaranteed at signing and 58 total guaranteed. So he was a big-time get for the New Orleans Saints. But as we've seen, the New Orleans Saints have not, let's just say, they've not constructed their roster very wisely. They have been a team that have, given out big contracts to Alvin Kamara and other players that it just didn't make sense. Every single year, they have to shave off their cap just to make it, so they can get under it. And so Marshon Lattimore, in a year where they're not very good, he's probably going to get traded. I mean, he's a 4-time Pro Bowler, and he's just somebody that could be a consistent guy on the other side of Trent McDuffie. And I'm glad that the Chiefs are thinking of this, because if the Chiefs were just going into, the rest of the season trusting Joshua Williams or trusting Chris Roland Wallace, I would have some concerns. I genuinely would have some concerns because I don't think that those guys are good enough to win a Super Bowl. You guys saw in that first game against the Raiders, the Chiefs defense struggled. The second cornerback struggled the most because we just could not stop it regardless of, who they put in. Chris Roland Wallace struggled. Joshua Williams struggled mightily. And you're going to have to figure out a way to go get somebody. Now, I wasn't sure it was going to be a, Marshon Lattimore type of trade, but that might be where the Chiefs are at. And I'm not going to say that I'm against it because he's been one of the better cornerbacks in football, and you're just trying to do everything you can to three-peat. And the Chiefs have been on this train all season. They made the big-time trade for DeAndre Hopkins. They have made a big-time trade to go get Joshua Uche, somebody that wasn't great this season, but has shown potential in the past. And so I really do like the idea of bringing Marshon Lattimore to Kansas City. The question is, what would it take to acquire him? Because while I'm sure the Chiefs are thinking, this is just a one-year rental. This is just a guy that we're going to have in here in 2025, and he's not going to be a main contributor 2 years from now. He's not somebody that we're expecting to be a part of this team in 2025, 2026, or 2027. And so what would you give up for a one-year rental? Now, this is where things get a bit tricky. I think the Chiefs have to be financially smart here. I understand they're in lieu of trying to get a three-peat, and they're so close on both sides of the football, but I wouldn't want them to give up like a second or a third-round draft pick to go get Marshon Lattimore. I know that might sound crazy. The most that I would personally give up would be a third. I think a third-round draft pick would be the most that would be feasible, but ideally it's going to be a fourth or a fifth round draft pick. If you're seeing guys like DeAndre Hopkins and Deontay Johnson, granted it's a different position, if they're going for fourth and fifth rounders, day 3 picks, I don't think that it would make any sense for the Chiefs to give up a great sum of draft capital to go get Marshon Lattimore. But again, the Chiefs might make a move here considering that this is their chance. This is their chance to make history. This is their chance to legitimately put themselves in a category that no one else is in, and that's by three-peating. And so a trade for Marshon Lattimore might make the most sense. But is there any other candidate in the before the trade deadline that you guys would want to see the Chiefs trade for? Because yeah, Marshon Lattimore is the flashy name, but J.C. Horn's out there, Greg Newsome II's out there. There's plenty of guys that could find a different team before the deadline. It just might not be someone flashy like a Marshon Lattimore. Really quickly, guys, if you haven't already, hit the like button on this stream. We got 43 people in here live. That is fantastic. Hit that like button on this stream so we can continue to push out content for you guys. We pushed 2 videos out today and a live stream. So if you guys enjoyed that, definitely hit the like button and subscribe to this channel for more football coverage all season long. I also want to give a shout out to the sponsor of this video, and that is the Rice Real Estate Group and the Hollywood Casino. Welcome to the Rice Real Estate Group, Kansas City's premier partner in real estate. Whether you're buying, selling, or investing, you'll receive a tailored experience designed just for you. Specializing in residential, commercial, and investment properties, the dedicated team over at the Rice Real Estate Group helps guide you through every transaction, including navigating those short, complex sales. With a commitment to personal one-on-one service, they will ensure that you are supported every step of the way. You can achieve your goals with expertise, care, and a customized approach that truly makes a difference. Ready to make your next move? The Rice Real Estate Group is here to make it happen. For more information, call 816-819-9333. So special shout out to the Rice Real Estate Group for sponsoring this YouTube channel all football season long. We'll hear from another one of our sponsors later on in the show. But guys, getting back to Marshon Lattimore, I think this move makes a ton of sense for the Chiefs. The Chiefs are in a position where you can go out and three-peat, and a cornerback 2 might be the only thing that is stopping this team from making that happen. Because we did see against the Raiders, we did get picked on a little bit, and I don't want the number 2 cornerback position to be the reason we don't three-peat. I think that would make me sick to my stomach. And if you can go out there and make a trade for somebody who could legitimately impact your defense, you have to do it. I mean, you just have to do it. And Marshon Lattimore makes a ton of sense. Now, the question is, what is it going to take to go get him? I think you have to stand pat on a third-round draft pick being the absolute most that you would give up. But realistically, we've seen Brett Veach give up 5th, 6th round draft pick, a day 3 pick, knowing that that's not really going to matter a year or two from now. I think that depending on what happens with Marshon Lattimore, and if the Chiefs do go make this trade, we will know if they're all in. We will absolutely know if they're all in, because this is a type of move that if you trade a 2nd or a 3rd round draft pick for Lattimore, you're all in. You are absolutely all in. And I also think for this trade to even be feasible at all, the Saints might have to eat some of that cap space, because unfortunately, not all of the teams operate like the New Orleans Saints. They don't always just give out contracts that are ludicrous. And so I think the Saints might have to eat a bit of that money. Maybe you see a player involved in this trade, but realistically, I think the Saints probably just want Kansas City to eat a little bit of that cap space and also give them a pick back in return. But I really do think if you're a Chiefs fan, Marshon Lattimore is a fantastic trade option. And we've kind of talked about it like, maybe Marshon Lattimore would make sense. Maybe J.C. Horn would make sense. I didn't expect Brett Veach to get on the phone and actually try to make this trade happen. I think that's absolutely mind-blowing. And the possibilities of Marshon Lattimore joining this defense, oh my gosh. I mean, they'd win the Super Bowl. They would absolutely win the Super Bowl. There's nobody else that could compete with this defense. The Chiefs' defense was getting it done with Joshua Williams, Najee Johnson, and Jalen Watson slotting in at cornerback too. If they added Marshon Lattimore, a 4-time Pro Bowler, one of the best cornerbacks in football a couple years ago, it's over. It is absolutely over. So that is such an exciting thing. And now I want to get to some of your comments in the chat, because you guys are the reason this show is awesome to do. And I want to include you guys as much as I can. And J Mad said the last touchdown was when we were up 14 and just letting them eat clock going up the field. You were asking or talking about that Raiders game. I understand that, they got that touchdown in garbage time, but you could kind of see that our second cornerback kind of got picked on a little bit by, Gardner Minshew. And Gardner Minshew, he's a solid quarterback in the NFL, but he is not somebody that should pick apart your defense. And here's the thing. He picked apart the specific area of the defense that you saw injuries to. And so that's why I think you have to go out and make a trade for a cornerback, and Marshon Lattimore would be a fantastic candidate. So guys, get your questions in the chat. Give me some questions. Give me some comments, some concerns, some thoughts on the possibility of Brett Veach pulling off what would be an insane trade to get Marshon Lattimore to Kansas City. Now, Lego My Ego says a 4th round pick. I think the 4th round pick would make the most sense. You're not giving up too much. It's still a day 3 draft pick, but it's not breaking the bank. And, you've drafted cornerbacks in the past in that, 4th, 5th round. And so if you could do that for a 4th or a 5th round draft pick, I think you absolutely have to do it. Cut him after this season, make it a rental, but you could absolutely just get him for the season. And I could not agree more. Like he is talented enough that he would be worth the rental. That would probably be what it is. But what is going on, Malvin? Greetings from Switzerland. Shout out to the viewer from Switzerland. I mean to get out to Switzerland here soon. What's going on, LA? It's been a minute. LA. Let's see. It's been a minute since I've done a live stream, guys. So it's good to see the chat is active, and we're talking about a potential huge trade here. If he goes anywhere, I'd prefer it's to the Chiefs. Well, of course, you got to have Lattimore come to the Chiefs. I don't actually know. I don't really know what other teams are in on Marshon Lattimore. That's something I can look up really quickly, but I don't know if there were really any other teams that have talked with the Saints about getting him. I know there were some that were rumored, but I don't know if there's been any confirmed calls. Schefter said that the Chiefs have already made a call. So this article from Bleacher Report, shout out Bleacher Report, said, quote, the Saints have gotten calls about Marshon Lattimore, according to league sources. Schefter wrote, one of the potential holdups of a deal is Lattimore's health, sources said. So that's also a concern. The 4-time Pro Bowler is not playing Sunday against the Panthers, but it hasn't stopped teams from calling about him, including the 2-time defending champion Chiefs. So he is potentially an injury-prone cornerback. And for the Chiefs to have already had these issues in the cornerback room with health, and just overall team health in general, is it smart for the Chiefs to go out and trade assets to go get someone that is maybe an injury liability? That's a great question. I don't know. I think that, listen, if Brett Veach is confident that Marshon Lattimore is the guy, go get him. You have to go get him. So news is he's being traded. We just don't know where. Yeah, Marshon Lattimore is going to get traded. I don't think that he's going to stay with the Saints. I think the fact that the Chiefs have already been in communication with the Saints about potentially making a trade means that this isn't just a pipe dream. It's not something that I cooked up in my head or Bleacher Report cooked up. There's some legitimacy to this rumor. There's an actual possibility that Marshon Lattimore ends up in a Chiefs uniform. It's going to come down to his health. It's going to come down to what they want, because I don't think that the Chiefs are going to give up some crazy asset to go get him, because he does have injury problems. And also, it's just, what's the point of giving up, crazy draft capital to go get someone that's probably just a rental? How come you don't like the Broncos on the roundtable? I love Ben. Ben is Ben's my guy. I don't love the Broncos, but Ben's a homie. But yeah, Eric, to answer your question, the trade's not official. There is no trade yet, but he is going to get shipped. The harsh reality is that the Saints are not a good football team. They've lost to the Chargers. They've lost to the Broncos. They've lost to the Chiefs. They're probably going to lose to the Raiders when they play them. It has not been a good season for them. They've had so many injuries like we have, but they also have a big talent disparity. So I do think that the Chiefs are going to be in on this trade. Now, what's it going to cost to go get him? That's the question. I'm okay with a third for the talent he brings. You pay more for a rental, so that's fair. Yeah, I listen, I understand that. But if it's for a third and you're going to cut him after this season, it might make more sense to go get someone like a Greg Newsome or a J.C. Horn. Now, the interesting thing about J.C. Horn is he plays for the Carolina Panthers. And in the video that I made earlier today, apparently the Carolina Panthers were not interested in trading with the Kansas City Chiefs, which I find kind of crazy considering they're in the NFC and it wouldn't really have any bearing on their season. It's not like they're competing. It's not like they, are in a position where they're going to need that cornerback, or, I don't know why trading him to the Chiefs is such a bad thing when you're not going to play us. I mean, I guess we do play the Carolina Panthers later this year, but we're going to beat them. We're going to beat them whether or not J.C. Horn plays in that game to begin with. LA, we have a QB. Now, our QB may has not played great this season, but hey, I think Mahomes has been a guy that's going to get this team to the playoffs, and we're going to be fine. Listen, I think I talked about it yesterday. Mahomes is having a statistical down season, but look at what he's working with. His top 3 wide receivers got hurt. His starting running back got hurt, and here he is 7-0 and probably going to move to 8-0 after they beat up on a Buccaneers team that is also injured. You saw Mike Evans get hurt. You saw Chris Godwin go down with a horrible injury. The Buccaneers are just about as banged up as we are, and they're not as good as we are. So coming to Arrowhead, we'll see how that game goes, but I think it could get ugly very quickly. Let's see. What about Byron, is it Byron Murphy? See, here's the thing. The Vikings, without diving too much into the players specifically, the Vikings are a playoff team. The Vikings are in a stacked division where most of the teams in that division are going to go to the playoffs. But I don't think that they would trade for a cornerback, or I don't think they'd trade with the Chiefs when they're trying to win a Super Bowl themselves. So it wouldn't make sense for the Vikings to. We have to look for a player on a really bad football team. And that's why when we've been talking about wide receivers, it's been a Darius Slayton from New York, where, to be quite honest with you, the Giants suck. And so you could get him for next to nothing, or a cornerback from a really bad football team. I know there's one in New England that could potentially get traded, the Carolina Panthers with J.C. Horn, and now we're talking about Marshon Lattimore, who's on a terrible Saints team. And so the Chiefs are going to have to find someone that isn't on a good football team, because if they are on a good football team, they're probably not going to get traded to the Chiefs. What is going on, Mickey? What's the latest on Pacheco? Will he come back before the playoffs? I think that's the hope. I haven't heard anything specifically. The only thing that I've heard is that he's walking around perfectly okay. That's what Nate Taylor of The Athletic said. But, Hopefully he comes back before the playoffs. I think the two guys that we're pretty confident come back before the postseason would be Hollywood Brown and then Pacheco. I think Rice is obviously done for the year. I don't think we see Sky Moore back. And as Lego Maego just said, like Wiley went down with an injury. So we're going to be out those guys for the season. And I don't think Wiley's a giant loss, but it's just another injury that hurts your depth. And LA, just if you could shoot me, I guess you probably don't have my email, but you could probably find my email. I'll put it in the comments section. Yeah, definitely just email me and I'll join it. Shout out to you, LA. I know the Dodgers just won the World Series. I was rooting hard for the Dodgers to beat the Yankees because the Yankees beat my Royals. So I'm glad that the Dodgers were able to spank the Yankees in the World Series and denied them from getting that 28th ring. So the Chiefs are apparently in talks with trading for Marshon Lattimore from the New Orleans Saints. This would be such an insane trade, something that might literally tip the scales in favor of the Chiefs for the rest of the season. If you add someone who's a Pro Bowler, who is a legitimate step up from whoever you have as cornerback too, you're automatically going to be better. And Dave Merritt, the cornerbacks coach, has been fantastic at coaching up guys like Chris Roland Wallace or whether it is Joshua Williams. And while I do think that Joshua Williams is going to be serviceable, he's not Marshon Lattimore. So if you have a chance to go get Marshon Lattimore, given the fact that he's on a really bad Saints team that isn't going to go anywhere this season, go make the trade. Brett Veach, I'm imploring you to go make this trade. Just make it impossible for any team to beat the Chiefs this year because they're already undefeated and they could add a Pro Bowl corner in Marshon Lattimore. But really quickly, I want to give a shout out to another sponsor of this channel all football season long, and that is the Hollywood Casino at Kansas Speedway. The Hollywood Casino at Kansas Speedway is the place to be. With over 1,500 slot machines, 35 table games, 4 restaurants, and a new ESPN Bet sportsbook, there are plenty of ways to find your fun. For more chances to win, follow them on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and X. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. I will give a few more comments, a look here, and then I'll probably end up getting out of here. But Chiefs fan 1969 says, my buddy said the Packers were interested. Like I said, teams from the NFC North are going to be highly interested in going to acquire some more cornerbacks, considering most of the teams in that division are going to try to make the playoffs and probably will make the playoffs. It's the NFC North and the AFC West have a couple teams in the playoffs. I know the Chargers and the Broncos are both in the playoffs if the season ended today, which is kind of absurd. No shade to you, LA, but the Chargers, brutal. I don't think the Chargers would make it very far, in the playoffs, but the AFC has been all over the place this year. So what do I know? What do you think about Hopkins? Will he be wide receiver 1 for the rest of the season? Yeah, this is DeAndre Hopkins' time to shine. I think you saw it in that first game. He showed some potential. Now we're going to see what he's going to be like with the offense under his belt. And it still might take him a couple weeks to fully grasp the offense, but the expectation is that DeAndre Hopkins is your wide receiver 1. And so I fully expect him to get a lot of catches and yards, and he's going to turn into the number 1 wide receiver that we traded for. And probably the last question that I'll get to, LA said, how about the Broncos? The Broncos suck. I think the Broncos are worse than the Chargers. I think they've gotten lucky with a bad strength of schedule. Not a believer in the Denver Broncos. And that might be why you said I hate Ben, because I just hate that Denver Broncos team. I don't think they're very good, to be quite honest with you. But guys, I definitely appreciate you all for stopping by. Hit that like button if you haven't already. We got 37 people in this chat, so smash that like button and show your support. Also, check out the sponsors. All of that stuff will be linked in the description of this live stream. If you guys like these live streams, comment below in the chat or in the comment section that you want to see more live streams, some more Q&As, some more stuff that's engaging. I would be happy to do more stuff in the future if we continue to get a big crowd. So definitely let me know what you guys think about more live streams in the comments down below. So again, Marshon Lattimore could be traded to the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs have inquired about the possibility of trading for him. Only time will tell. I'll come back on here and talk about it, whether he gets traded to the Chiefs or not. But I think there is a chance the Chiefs pull off a blockbuster trade to go get Lattimore. So for Michael Darcy, guys, thank you guys for watching this Kansas City Chiefs live stream presented by KC Sports Report.